Good morning. Did you guys have a good time last night? All right. No, some of you may be a little bit hungover. I get it. It's Vegas. Well, we had a good time at our Smart Home Happy Hour last night, and it's been a great couple of days here. We had the AgTech session yesterday over at the West Hall. But I'm really excited to kick off this first full day session of the Food Tech track. This is the 4th year we've done Food Tech at CES, and it's growing every year, so I'm super excited to kick off this session. This session, as you guys have noticed walking around CES, the show floor, everything is about AI. Well, at the Spoon, we have followed pretty closely how AI is changing the food system, and so I thought I'd assemble a panel that would really kind of dig deep in the ways in which AI is changing food in particular. So I'm really excited to welcome Ethan Solovyev of How Good on stage with this panelist and kick off the session. Come on, guys. Give him a big round of applause. Ethan goes, make sure they do applause or tell them to applaud while they're coming up. And I forgot to, but you guys knew we were smart enough to do that. So, all right, here you go, man.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Ethan Solovyev. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at How Good. How Good is the world's largest sustainability database for food products and ingredients. And I have an extremely amazing, illustrious panel who's joining us on stage today. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Depending on how we do, we may get to some audience questions at the end. Let's see. But dear panelists, let's just run down the line. I want you to do a certain kind of introduction, which is an intro by the numbers. So what you're going to do is you're going to say a number that has something to do with your work or your business or your company or AI, and then introduce yourself through what that number is. Jasmine, kick us off.
I love the prompt. Oops, this is on. Hi, can you guys hear me? No. How about now? Great, okay. Good morning, thanks everyone for being here. 450 million. 450 million. This is the number of natural protein ingredients that Shiru has in our database. And we're mining that to make better, natural, healthy ingredients for all kinds of different food products. I'm the founder and CEO, and great to be here. Looking forward to the conversation.
Awesome. Taos.
Hi, thank you. I'm happy to be here. I would go with a smaller number, Yasmin. I would go with 25 because it makes me feel younger. 25 years of working in the food industry and being amazed by the ability of our let's say, revolution in the way we are designing, creating, and serving food across the world through different categories. And we need really to continue this acceleration to meet the demand in terms of health and sustainability. So I'm excited to be here.
Great, thank you. And also just to note, Taos works for Danone, which is like one of the largest food companies in the world. Many billions of revenue with products that you've probably eaten today or recently. And How Good has a great partnership with Danone over many years, and I'm very impressed with what Taos and the larger teams are doing in terms of food and innovation. Raj, over to you.
My number is 300, which is the number of calories GPT Food Cam said I ate this morning, which I think is a little bit high. It was yogurt and granola. But GPT Food Cam was a hobby project I built early this summer, which went viral. Just take a photo of your food and see your calories. My background's mostly startups in all different industries, but interestingly, this is completing an arc of something I was working on in 2009 when I used to work in the recipe space.
All right, thank you. So there's 3 sections to what we're going to do. If we could get that first slide up here. We're going to talk about first tangible solutions and how AI is transforming the food system. Then we're going to do a first thought, quick rapid fire questions for all of my panelists. You can see down below what they've got back up there on the screen. And then we're going to end with looking to AI in the future. So this is a simple diagram that goes from the left to right and shows agricultural production up through ingredient development, sourcing, product development through the actual food manufacturing, going to marketing and sales, retailing, eating, waste, or upcycling, and then a sort of a little thing along the bottom of consumer engagement and market trends. Each of you in your company sits somewhere on that diagram. And so my invitation and sort of first question is, what are the tangible solutions that you are generating using AI or through AI, and kind of where do they sit in this diagram, and what's tangible about them?
Yeah, actually there are different position where already it's starting. I think clearly when it comes to making sustainable and responsible sourcing, clearly AI is helping, and I think you know a little bit, some of the tools that are existing today, not to list some of them. But very interestingly is how much beyond the sourcing is the ability to capture and transform consumer or patient insight into product briefs in the way we design and create new products. And of course, it goes very far into the manufacturing and the supply chain today. So I believe that, 95% of everything here is being impacted, and it's being impacting faster and faster. This year versus 3 years ago versus 10 years ago is just like 3 lives.
Yeah, the acceleration is incredible. Jasmine?
Yeah, I mean, I think about the waves of technologies, right? And how these technology waves are really impacted by foundational changes or advancements in certain core capabilities. Certainly with AI, this is part of our daily vocabulary. Everybody from, my 5-year-old to my mom knows that these tools are in there every day now. This was not the case 5 years ago, right? And so Shiru is a startup. We have developed a very unique capability in discovering natural functional ingredients. So we're certainly impacting that early stage part of the pipeline. And we started almost 6 years ago when the wave had not even surfaced. And frankly, a lot of the companies that we were talking to about how we can just decrease years off of development cycles for new ingredients, millions of dollars we can save because now we can do this digitally, where you used to have like dozens of scientists working in labs for years. A lot of folks didn't know what we were really talking about then. Fast forward to 2024, a lot of the industry is like, wow, this is absolutely the way things are going, and how can we quickly get access to the best resources to be able to better position our company, whether that's ingredients companies that might not be household names or CPG companies that are household names alike, both of them.
I just wanted to complete this part because I think it's on top of reducing the time to innovation, which is important, I think it's even the ability to find and discover things that we could not have been able to do if we were following the traditional way of doing research and development. So I think the opportunities that is triggering, and specifically in your area, Jasmine, is just amazing. It's like triple, 5, 10, 100 times multiplier.
Totally, and I think we don't even know yet the ways that this is really going to impact the food system. There are massive challenges with the food system. We need foods that are better for us, that are better for the planet, and we have to deal with the reality that consumers, myself included, I don't necessarily want to change the products I'm eating or the way I'm eating. And that's, across the board. And so the way we see it is there's an opportunity to innovate from inside the package. And really all the consumer sees is the labels are cleaner, the nutrition profiles are better, and it's still accessible in terms of accessing that product where you need it for the cost you need it at. And AI is doing that already.
Raj, I want to hear from you. And Jasmine, I want to come back to you in a minute, though, and get an example of what is exactly one of those proteins or ingredients you've made. But Raj, what's your tangible solution?
I think people might remember the quantified self movement, where everyone was trying to track everything they do. And I look at in 2009, I was using computer vision and Android at the time to try to identify foods. Do folks remember the hot dog, not hot dog app, Silicon Valley, right? And so to me, I think this unlock with Gen AI is, and as they've all alluded to, has introduced a whole new set of use cases or things that we can automate that we couldn't automate before. And so my kind of challenge to folks is to go to the food category in the App Store or go to the health fitness category and actually look at every single app and say, how would you reinvent this user experience if you had Gen AI? And that was kind of how GPT FoodCam came about. I was like, oh, I'm in MyFitnessPal. It's like 7 clicks to add your food. This is like too much work. We can reinvent this. We don't need to build it in the same way. So, I always look at it from like an application perspective, and I think there's tons of examples like this. I remember a number of food AI companies at the consumer-facing 2015, companies like Yumly, that were like trying to figure out what ingredients you can automatically substitute. We can try these problems again with Gen AI and see how well it works. And you can do this stuff right within ChatGPT and just build a GPT and test out your concept, and then go and build the app. But that would be my challenge, is to just go to the App Store and just start challenging yourself. How can I reinvent this app with Gen AI?
FoodGPT Cam is amazing. If you all don't have it, you should download it. It like went viral, and you literally just take a photo of whatever meal you're about to eat, and it will tell you the calories in it. And how much time would you reckon it saved? Does it save? Do you reduce the time you would spend doing that task? 90%, 95%, 50%? Like, and I'm going to ask each of you the solutions that you figured out. What time savings are you getting?
Yeah. So the normal flow, and anybody in like product manager, the way you kind of think about things, like how many clicks it takes to get to something, right? So the normal flow, let's take MyFitnessPal, it's the most popular app. You open the app, you choose the meal, you add the item, you type in the text, you could then attach photos. It's a lot of clicks, and they have extremely high churn, like let's say 99% churn after like a few weeks because of that effort. So from that perspective, you're going from many minutes to 2 clicks. Click, open the camera, click, and done. But there is a trade-off. It's not as precise. But the question is, and part of the, realization with GPT Food Cam was, I believe there's a 95% that doesn't need to have precise, just a range is sufficient, that we're not able to target. And it's the top 3% that are using the MyFitnessPals that want like totally precise. And so I'm kind of trying to expand the TAM.
Awesome. What time savings are you finding, Taos?
I was thinking that, in big corporation, there are different innovation models. So depending what you're reaching for, I think that what impressed me in the last 2 years is how quick indeed, when you're thinking about a totally new ingredient that even maybe was not engineered before, specifically if I'm thinking about special types of protein, etc., what would have taken maybe 5 years ago, 2-3 years, could be done in 3 months. Not necessarily time to be marketed and available on shelf, because then it's a different story. And I think Jasmine was touching something important, which is how could we keep innovating but keeping the integrity of the food so that it's still appealing, reassuring that this is something you want to eat. Everybody wants something new, but not so new that it's like triggering like anxiety. So this requires a certain engineering in terms of consumer, in terms of branding, in terms of taste, in terms of color, etc. But really, from a technological point of view, I think we have saved an amazing amount of time.
So we went from like almost 10 clicks to maybe 2 clicks. So that's like an 80% reduction. Went from 2 years to 3 months. That's pretty significant. How about you, Jasmine? What's the speed up in what you're doing compared to the older way?
Sure, yeah. So this comes out of recent conversations that we were having with a very big ingredients company. So we can develop a bunch of different ingredients. Right now, we're really focused on developing proteins that are natural sweeteners. So they can be used to replace sugar in beverages, for example, which is a massive need, right? And we were talking to an ingredients company. They spent 12 years to develop one protein sweetener, and it failed. And we're bringing to market a portfolio of different solutions that we're going to have validated market information in 12 months. So it's a massive change. And I think 12 months is probably long, actually. Like, as we progress, we're going to be able to compress that even further.
So it's not just 12 years to 12 months, because that would be 90%. You're doing 100x or 200x the number in that.
It's not
same
one
time.
ingredient. It's maybe a dozen ingredients that we result in. And so and to Taos's previous point, like, there are things that you wouldn't have come across previously because you didn't have the tools to be able to go find them.
This is another, I don't know why I'm doing numbers, it's a tech show, but another percentage question. What % of the food system globally is touched by AI right now? And what will that be in 12 to 18 months? Raj, go for it.
Maybe this is counterintuitive, but I would have guessed even 5 years ago, 90% plus of the food system's touched by AI. Whether
Already?
It's doing satellite maps to identify farm production, whether it's using drones to analyze quality of grapes in vineyards. I worked out of SRI for a while, Stanford Research Institute. They had apple picking robots. We're using AI in data analysis everywhere. Obviously, it's become mainstream with Gen AI, so I think it's a trick question.
Thank you.
I'm curious to hear Taus's response.
Thank you. I think that from a theoretical point of view, it's 100% which is going to be impacted. So the question is today and maybe in a couple of years. I think it goes beyond just AI. Maybe if you consider other tools which are there in terms of in silico modeling or what we need to do for new packaging, etc. My perception is that today probably we are around 60 to 70% globally, but I'm talking food, big food, all countries, all categories. But the speed of acceleration, I'm thinking 2 years, but maybe in 6 months it will be 12 months. So yeah. I don't know, I want to be humble with that.
Cool.
From like a building perspective, there's like questions upon questions for that, right? Because you look at all of those different touch points and it's like, are you thinking about AI that connects all of them? In that case, I'd probably say it's like none. You know, the anecdotal reference points that I have are that, you know, when I started the company 5 years ago, there were not people in food companies with the job title of head of digital transformation. That wasn't there 5 years ago. And as of maybe 2 years ago, I would almost say that every big food and beverage company is putting resources, very extremely highly trained talent and efforts behind this. So whether it will be adopted is not a question.
Right.
It's just how, where, what are the big benefits that are going to result from it.
Got it. My company, How Good, works with 6 of the 10 largest food companies in the world. We're touching most of the food that's out there. My prediction was also 90%, like Raj said, but I said it would hit that in 12 to 18 months. Based on this conversation, I'm going to update that to say in 12 to 18 months, it's 100%. That somewhere is touched, but it's still going to take a little bit of time in 12 to 18 months for that all interconnected moving through. That's maybe, yeah, we'll get like 70% interconnected in 12 to 18 months. Also on that that previous question of time savings, we used to do work that's on the sustainability of food, which is where I want to head us next, sustainability and the impacts of AI. Our company calculates, say, the carbon footprint or the water footprint of any product that's out there in the market. That used to be a time-intensive, expertise-intensive process that would take 6 to 9 months to produce a single life cycle assessment for a single product. We can now do that in a matter of about 2 to 3 minutes in our platform. So the time savings is immense. I want to go to this next slide here and use this to share a framework that may be useful as you think about AI, as you see it out there on the show floor or in your life. There's 3 levels of effects of artificial intelligence. Most of what we're seeing will come from the first level, but as you go up the levels, you see more and more power for changing the food system. The first level that most AI is doing right now is efficiency. It's just making us do faster what we already did. And efficiency is great. It's great to be able to send 100 marketing emails when you could just send 1 before. It's great to be able to generate images in a way that you couldn't. It's great to be able to design a new formulation faster. But efficiency ultimately is limited. We want to be able to go up to the next level, which is innovation, where we're actually innovating and creating something new that has not been before. That could happen in the term of food products. It could also happen in business models, which we'll talk about later. Finally, the third level, where we see very little actually happening yet in terms of effects of artificial intelligence, is transformation, is where the entire system that we're working with is actually transformed and changed. And so my question for the panelists is, where are you working now, and what is it going to take to get us up to transformation of the food system with AI?
I can start if you want. I feel quite motivated by this one. So Jasmine was saying in the last 2-3 years, major food companies are investing and really allocating resources. It is true. This is my personal experience. And I started with the number 25 because I really wanted to bring this, which is how much As an R&D leader, my job has been transforming and is going to be revolutionized. And I'm so happy because it means that as I've been already working for 25 years, the next 10 or 15 are going to be super exciting. So that's the good news for me, to keep the very high level of motivation. As you said, for me, efficiency is just an entry point. And when it comes to at least food companies and innovation, our heart is, what is it that we need to innovate? Why is it going to last? And what would it take to transform? So innovation in my company, because this is where the one I know the best, we are driven by the fact that we want to bring superior, tasteful products which are delivering a health benefit from a very simple one. It brings good protein or nutrition to things which can be life-transforming, for example, for patients which are suffering from sarcopenia, for example. It's a different type of innovation that we need to bring. To be able to maximize the benefit, it's about the product design, it's about the benefit that people could feel. So all the digital health, and that was something we have been exposed during the CES quite massively. It means that every single component in the company has to understand better how to think, how to use new tools, how to interact within the company and across. I see this transformation vertical and horizontal. Vertical within everything we do so that the integration is maximizing the benefit. Horizontally is the ecosystem with all the key players so that together we can also find solutions in some field. At the end of the day, what makes an innovation sustainable, both, Ethan, from an ecological point of view and a financial point of view, is the ability to make it relevant and in the market. And for that, I think it will require massive collective transformation.
Love it. Horizontal across the ecosystem, vertical and deep integration can lead to transformation if it's aiming for benefits, especially for the consumers. Raj, what do you think? What's it take to actually transform things, not just be efficient?
Yeah, so I'm going to give a slightly different perspective here. So I think, and this is taking a step back, so I don't think it's food specific, but I think it applies more broadly. So if we just take the tech sector and like what's going on within the tech sector, we're seeing everybody at some level getting some sort of productivity boost. And we are seeing, unfortunately, layoffs or efficiencies happening across the industry where all of a sudden XYZ individual can now do data analysis on their own, ABC person can now do market research on their own, whatever it might be. There's actually even a term for this I recently wrote about called the super IC, the super individual contributor, kind of individual contributors that can now use Gen AI to like level themselves up. So definitely, I think from a big tech perspective, massively focused on efficiency, and we're seeing that like across public market. Then when you look at the startup environment, they raised a lot of money in the last couple of years to automate workflows. I'm going to replace your customer support team. I'm going to replace your expense team and whatnot. And they're hitting different sorts of roadblocks. One of the largest of which, it not being 100% accurate. I actually call this the 95% problem. Is the thing about dealing with AI is it's going to be wrong 5% of the time, and that last 5% takes a long time to crack. It may not happen for another decade or two. I mean, obviously they're building guardrails and whatnot to try to solve that, but it's hard. And so they're retooling, but they're increasingly focused on efficiency and innovation. That combination and where it leads to transformation, right now, I think we are in a transformative period, so a different application of the word, where we're still figuring out all the efficiency gains. But I would say one of the other challenges that makes this hard for me to mentally predict is the technology itself is evolving so fast. Jensen came out and said faster than Moore's Law. And so the workflows that are getting unlocked are changing every week. So just following the pace of this stuff has in itself become its own sort of anxiety-inducing occupation. So I don't know, but I will say macro, looking at what's going on, at least in Silicon Valley, efficiency amongst big tech, big focus area, and innovation, I think, amongst the startup community.
And we're in a transformative period, and we're moving faster than Moore's Law. Let's go.
It's dizzying. It really is. We're focused in a fairly niche area of like protein molecules, and every single time I open up LinkedIn, it's like new papers, new open source data sets, new everything. And so it's a lot to stay on top of. At Shiru, we are deep heads down in that innovation space right now, working towards transformation. We're a B2B company, and so that really requires, for real transformation to happen, it requires believers. It requires people within the food industry, within ingredients companies and CPG companies, to not be skeptical, worried, concerned, like folks on the R&D side being like, oh my God, this is gonna take my job away, right? It's not that. It's actually that it's going to enable you to focus on things that are higher value, that require bigger ideas, and a lot of the stuff that's like not that fun, we can do that now with AI.
I love that. I love that perspective. Yeah, I mean, we know that extractive industries, we know that the military and defense side are using AI as much as possible, as fast as possible. Food is one of the only industries that can actually have a net positive benefit to the world. Everything else, transportation, buildings, we can get more and more efficient, we can get to zero impact. But food, you can actually capture carbon, enhance biodiversity, lift up people's lives. So it's the only place we could be net positive. We have to be believers and get in and use the tools, or we'll fall behind. Okay, we're going to do a first thought. These are going to be really rapid questions. Most of the time, you're just going to say one word or two, and we're just going to go in the same order. So we'll go Jasmine, Taos, Raj, and just keep running it over and over that way. Some of these are light, some of these are deep. Let's see where we go. They have no idea what question I'm about to ask them. They don't know any of the questions that we're asking today. Okay, so what's your favorite AI app? First thought.
Ooh, gosh, I don't even remember the name of it, but it's an app that I use to make Google Slides from text. I hate making slides. It's a big
We got to know the name of it. Think of the name. Taos, what's your favorite app?
ChatGPT.
There we go.
Replit Agent. People familiar with this?
No.
Give it a shot. Try building your own app. So just describe what you want, and it'll build it for you.
Crazy. Does your mom know what AI is?
Yes.
No.
No.
All right. How about your kids, if you have kids?
Yes.
Too much using it.
Yeah, he uses ChatGPT for his homework.
Yeah, exactly. What topic or realm of life should AI never touch?
I was just talking about this yesterday. Art makes me feel really uncomfortable. I like knowing there's a human behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the ability to choose what we want to be or to become.
Whoa, that one went deep. Mm-hmm.
You know, my day job is at Mozilla, and I work on like responsible AI, and there's a lot of parameters and things in and around training sets, the data sets, diversity of data sets representing different parts of the world, synthetic data. I don't have an answer here, but the AI itself is informed by the world. So in some ways, the question is even bigger. What in the world? Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like there's not many. My initial first thought to this question was sex, and then I was like, shit, it's done. It's already happened. AI's everywhere. Okay, how do you take notes? A little more simple question. Is it a notebook? Do you use Otter AI or something else? How do you take notes?
Ooh, I take handwritten notes in a notebook, and then I also use Notion, just like AI.
Great.
I use Notebook.
I recently been playing with granola.ai. So as you write your notes in whatever form, it's listening to the call or the discussion, and then at the end of the meeting, it augments your notes.
Cool. Got to try that, granola. What's the most shocking or surprising thing you've ever seen AI do?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go.
Palantir did this test where they had a jet operator out of the flight control booth, whatever. Its mission was to go and destroy this object in the simulator. And every time this autonomous jet would go there, it would instruct it, now you have to come back home, so it canceled the operation. After the third time, it came back and then destroyed the flight simulator in the simulator, so it can go back and complete its mission. And I thought that was really interesting because it's kind of like a reinforcement learning. I need to finish my mission, and you are preventing me from finishing my mission. And this is like a real world test. There was a paper written about it.
That's terrifying. Somebody else. What was shocking or surprising?
for me, not necessarily shocking, but more inspiring. I forgot the name of this tool, but the ability to really interact with the patient to make sure they take their medication, or if they feel, like not really good, give them the impression that they are truly talking to someone, and it's not just a bot. It's quite advanced. It feels like someone who knows you. It's not shocking, but I think it's super fascinating.
Jasmine?
I have to say, building in AI and trying to disrupt, it's when our stuff really works. It's crazy. I have to triple check and do diligence with my team. I'm like, wait, we really got that result? That really happened? Yeah, it's doing it, and it does it really efficiently.
Are there any other AI tools that you use every day? Or is there just one you could name?
I don't know if people played with Notebook LM from Google. I think you can basically upload all your stuff and make it searchable, so think of it like your personal knowledge base. The other one I've been playing with recently is Google AI Studio Live. You can do it with your phone right now, so just search for that in Google, hit the link. It's like ai.studio.com/live, and then open your camera, and then as you walk around, you can have a discussion with everything it's seeing in real time.
I mean, I would just say ChatGPT for writing. And basically anything I write now, even if it's a company email, I'm just it's improved tremendously. So that one's every day, all the time.
Same for me.
Okay. Last rapid question, first thought question is, what is misunderstood about AI?
I would like to take this one because it's also related to the transformation part. Specifically when you have big teams, it's the fact that it's going to take your job and it's going to create tensions and anxiety. So the role of making it more democratized, helping truly people in different moments in their career to be able to upskill is something. So I think this is, at least from where I operate, one of the biggest challenge, to make sure that there is not such anxiety, so that we together embrace the transformation.
Yeah, engage and augment rather than replace. Jasmine, then Raj.
I would just amplify that as well. I would say, encouraging anyone who's fearful for whatever reason to try and approach it with more curiosity. Is just going to benefit everybody, because the truth is it's going to touch every area of our lives if it's not already, and it's not going to go away. We're only going to increase the way that we're applying it across our lives. So, if you haven't already embraced it, start encouraging curiosity mindsets around it.
So I'm going to just point at the data. So 2 years ago, a bunch of startups raised money right after ChatGPT, and they're pitching investors, hey, I'm going to replace this workflow. And I call this the 95% problem, and I alluded to this earlier. And what's happened is they're like, oh, it's 95% accurate, but now I'm going to use guardrails, and I'm going to use fine-tuning, and all this other sort of techniques and strategies and prompting and whatnot to get it to 100%. And they're realizing they're getting stuck at 96%. Maybe they're making a 1% improvement. So they're going back to their investor base or their customer base, and they're like, we can't actually replace your expense workflow. We're still going to need a human in the loop to review the final sort of output, and it's completely changing the ROI calculation. And that's why you're seeing a bunch of startups within the ecosystem sort of struggling now, because they kind of pitched something that wasn't technically feasible. I think most misunderstood, I think, is that concept, that this sort of 95% problem. I often point people at why was Calendly the winner when we actually had other players that were trying to automate your scheduling? Because when it comes to mission critical workflows, even 1% error rate is too high. So even if you look at Waymo, they have remote operators, right? And so it depends on the workflow. And there's a whole area, I gave a talk about this in 2014, I think at South by, which is designing AI interfaces. Like, how do you design a UI that is meant to present itself like recommendations? Because it's not perfect, right? So search obviously does really, really well because it's kind of designed in that way. But if you're saying this is the answer, then you have a whole bunch of other things you have to solve.
Can I add one thought
Please.
to that? Yeah. I think I would just add, especially in the context of AI being applied in the food space, we can't forget that we don't eat software. That might sound ridiculously obvious, but AI can and will and is touching all of those different parts of the value chain, and we still deal with agriculture and biology and manufacturing. And, it's not going to be something that all of a sudden you flip a switch and you've revolutionized everything. So it's going to be a big we are in that transformation phase, and it's going to continue.
All right, last rapid question. Would you implant in your head Neuralink or something like that? Yes or no?
No. My head works great.
Maybe in 30 years I
Okay,
might need it, so
maybe.
I won't say no.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm definitely in the EACC camp here.
Let's do it.
You're familiar with EACC.
Okay, so let's look forward. Make a prediction or give us a little image into the future of food from the perspective of integration with AI, everything we've been talking about here. As you look forward to the next, I don't even go 5 years, but 12 to 18 months, food and AI, what do you predict? What do you see?
I can kick us off. I would say simple, if I had to use one word. We're going to be using AI to simplify our food products, simplify the value chains, bring products back closer to natural. We spent a lot of the last 50 years industrializing the food system to be able to reach and feed growing global populations, and that really became quite complex. How can we use AI? How are we using AI to simplify while providing that accessibility but improved products overall?
Awesome, Taos.
That's a very important piece. Maybe there are two other dimensions that I would like to cover. One is the proximity it will bring between the product, the brand, the consumer, the patient, the caregiver. So it's the accessibility. What is exactly in the food? How does it work? Where can I find it? What is the benefit for me? And eventually, can I measure the impact it has on me? So I truly believe it's going to help accelerate this part. The other one is the ability to it's the transparency on the sourcing, on the sustainability. It's going to be much more easier to understand and to help people make the choices they believe are the best for them.
Right now, if we only optimize on financial capital and on taste, you're saying let's add in the benefit, the actual health benefit, and let's optimize on the world as well.
Can you repeat the question?
Prediction for the future of food and AI.
So I think the quantified self movement kind of started it, and you see it at CES right now. We're tracking and measuring everything. The medical system has been reactive, like most of our life. Predictive, I think, is the next step here. So if you have all the data, can I predict and be more prophylactic about medical conditions, health, things like that? And it's going to happen, and it's super transformative because it saves everyone cost and it makes everyone healthier.
Yeah, I mean, the food is medicine movement that had the big event at the White House, like that would be amazing. We have the power of prediction now. Taos, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I wanted to add something because I was thinking that there is a third dimension, which is the ability to customize, not necessarily to personalize by individual, but depending on the target group. If you combine what is the product, how it works, and the impact that you can measure to make the invisible visible, it means that it's going to be helping people to enter into more virtuous cycle. I want to keep my strength, I want to protect my muscle loss, whatever it is, or I want to keep my brain alertness. There will be more and more tools to make it happen, thanks to what you eat and how you measure it.
I'm going to end with my prediction using the last slide, which is a bigger sort of look at the exponential changes that we're going to see out in the world. We've been working with LLMs, large language models, that kicked off Gen AI and ChatGPT and all that. That's been awesome, large language models. But there's an evolution. We're already moving quickly into LMMs, large multimodal models, where we're using video and imagery, and you're able to search in a number of different ways. If we want to do sustainability, if we want to have a livable planet for humans in the future, we're going to need to not train just on the corpus of human information. That's what most of the language that went in was everything on the internet with all of its issues with bias and diversity, as Raj pointed to. We're going to need to train not just on human input, but on ecological input. So I believe there's a next level, which is large ecological models, where we're actually taking data from how ecosystems work and heal and regenerate and training our AI on that. All of those are still a little bit static. The next level up that we're going to get to is, I've got it there as LACMs, which are large action models, which is rather than training on static static text or ideas. It's actually doing the cause and response, the cause and reaction. And so we're training models on the actions that are produced rather than just on text that has been written or something static. And then the last one that we're starting to hear a lot about here is basically multiplying, instead of taking single action or responses, large models will be able to look at and see whole arcs of work that are performed by agents. So at the top, I think we'll see eventually models that are trained on the arcs of work of agents. These are LAGMs, or large agentic models. So this is what I see. Raj is going to say something here to add, and then everybody can just say one quick little thing that you're excited about for AI going forward.
I was slightly chuckling at some of the acronyms, but I think they're great. I mean, language action models, LAMs is a thing. But I was going to say I don't see AGI on this list.
Yeah, maybe that's at the top. Tao, something to end us with.
For me, I think the ability to put all the things we know about Gen AI to make people happy by eating every day, and at the end of the day, it's very important. I think it's fantastic, and there are so many complementarities in this room and in this Congress.
I would say the mindset shift of having the food industry feel like the problems are not insurmountable. Because sometimes it feels that way. And I think that AI can and is really transforming that a lot. So again, approaching it with curiosity about what are the tools, what are the other states of the art, even in other industries that we can grab insights from and apply in the food industry to make things better.
Let's change the paradigm. My final invitation is, instead of just looking at your phone and walking out the door, why don't, after you clap for us in a second, you turn to your neighbor who you haven't met yet and tell them something that you got out of this session, or something that was interesting, excited, you wanted to take forward. And let's give a big round of applause to our panelists. Thank you for being here.